Please come to order for this February 7th regular meeting of the Bridgton Planning Board. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have all our regular members here tonight, so there's no need to appoint Kathy as a regular member tonight, but she's free as our alternate to participate in all the proceedings, including making and seconding motions. Okay, next on the agenda, approval of the minutes of January 17th, 2023. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes moved by Mr. Harden, seconded by Mr. Gibbs? Any discussion?
Oh, pretty complete.
All in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is our public comment time frame for anybody in the room that wants to make a comment about anything that's on their mind. If it has to do with an application, does it have to do with an application? Yeah. We'll let you speak during that time. Okay? Is the board all right with that?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anybody else? Okay. On to the next piece of business, number 5A, Hancock Lumber, Portland Road, map 9, lot 60A, findings of fact and conclusions of law. You have before you the findings. As I mentioned at the last meeting, the condition at the end, which had been placed on the Coffee Cart Cafe, the owner of the coffee cart, Sail Away. The CEO had advised us that legally it needed to be on the applicant, or excuse me, not the applicant, the owner of the property.
Right.
So, and it's my understanding that the owner of the cafe wasn't necessarily okay with the arrangement. So I'm going to stop there. Ms. Day, is there anything I missed? No. So I guess I'd ask whoever's representing Stone Soup Realty and or the Hancock Lumber to come on up. And
I didn't see the impact statements from the police chief and fire chief.
Could you just identify yourself first?
Glenn Peterson, owner of Stone Soup.
Okay. And your address?
Poland, Maine.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was hoping that the impact statements from the fire chief and police chief, the folks who required to do the impact statements, are those available?
They were available originally. I don't know if there hasn't been further impact statements that I'm aware of.
Okay. And did any of those mention traffic?
I don't believe so.
Okay. From my opinion, I think the Sail Away folks have a good directional program from the police non-captains down. They didn't think that there was a problem with the traffic flow, and the drivers from Hancock do this route regularly, and there's not many of them. So Stone Soup's opinion is that there's no need for a traffic plan.
So you're asking that we reconsider the condition?
Well, tell me the condition.
And then, Ms. Day, I'm going to ask if there's been further discussion between department heads. Condition of approval is traffic lanes for existing Sail Away Coffee Company cart will be parallel, will be striped, and in the same direction as Hancock lumber truck traffic. The entrance and exit for truck traffic will be clearly marked and in the same direction as the coffee cart entrance. That's the,
So you're cutting the coffee carts business in half by having them do parallel lanes?
yeah, so let me just explain. The board's responsibility is, part of it is safe traffic circulation. And so in the board's assessment during our deliberations and review, the assessment was there was a level of concern by majority of members of the board that very large flatbed trucks, which I imagine are quite long, there could be an issue with cars coming in both way and those coming, the large trucks coming in and, going in, backing out. So, Ms. Day, was there any further, so, another thing to explain is we certainly look at impact statements, but the board really has to make an assessment.
The discussion with the department heads was that they didn't feel that there would be any problem with the distance between the loading docks and the coffee cart.
And if I remember, the distance is 120 feet from the loading doors to the coffee cart? Is that correct? Can anybody speak to that?
Yes. Do you want to speak?
Hello, Josh Quint for Stone Soup and Chase Street here in Bridgton. 120 feet is the distance between the coffee cart and the loading dock doors.
And then you'd have to have some distance there, maybe there's some distance for vehicles to pull in and out, obviously.
You mean
probably.
at the coffee cart itself?
Yeah, right.
My understanding is the lane is the width of a car, which is 8 feet on average, as a parking spot width, but 112 feet then for a 44-foot truck at the longest.
Can somebody from Hancock Lumber confirm the largest truck that will go in and out?
Yeah, Florine, Knapper, Hancock Lumber, yeah, we assume 40 feet.
40 feet.
Yeah.
So I'm getting too far down the road already. Does the board want to reconsider its condition? If so, I'd need a motion to reconsider. We vote on that, and then we decide whether we want that condition or another condition. Ms. Miller?
Before we do that, we got the opinion that that the condition wasn't necessary, but I'd like to hear why that would be a hardship to meet that condition before we reconsider reconsideration. The fact that it was said, we don't think it's necessary. There was something about cutting the business in half, and I don't know how that would work.
But that might be part of the reconsideration
Oh,
decision
all
if we
right.
want to do that.
All right, well, I'm neutral, so I'm not going to move to reconsider.
Is there any member of the board that would like to reconsider the condition? One thing we have to do is, if there's going to be a condition, it can't be on the sail away coffee owner. So,
It'll have to be imposed on
the owner of the
owner of
property.
the property.
I'm not seeing a motion.
I wasn't here for any of the discussion for this one, so.
I wasn't either, so.
I was just going to say, I thought our discussion was that the traffic would go in one direction on either side, so that would not cut the business in half, because cars would be on both sides of the cart.
Well, I mean, again, not being here for the Hancock deliberations, if you have both cars going in the same direction, I think that's gonna cause more of a problem, because I believe, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, right now they come in opposite ways, so one's coming in this way, one's going out this way. And it's similar to what I've said about driveways lining up across from each other versus offsetting, is if you've got two people ordering coffee, and one's on this side, one's on this side, they both pull out at the same time to go turn onto 302, I think you're gonna cause more traffic problems that way, because they can't, the person that's coming out on the left-hand side can't see the person on the right until they're at the point of, uh-oh, and you got accidents. So I think keeping it the way it is safer. In my, that's my opinion,
Yeah, although it's
you know,
pretty short building, pretty short little card.
yeah.
Mr. Mattson?
Now, I think part of our issue was the fact of the trucks entering and exiting from the same, entering one way and exiting one way when they go into the building, into the lot. And we can't have that unless we're doing the same with the coffee cart. That was our intent. Trying to have a uniform traffic flow.
Okay.
So your concern is that the trucks use the same entrance and exit.
Correct.
We have 3 entrances and exits. If we ask them to use the center one, that should comply with it.
So could I ask you a question, Mr.?
Peterson.
Sorry, just lost you right in there. Glenn. Peterson, Mr. Peterson. Was there any discussion about other areas to move the coffee cart? Because that's a very large area in front of that building. And so was there any consideration as to other places to put the coffee cart? It's a
No.
large it's a large parking lot for generally very few vehicles.
Can I say something? Can I own the coffee cart?
Yes, you can. Let me just let him answer this.
Well, are we not reconsidering, maybe we do need a
We're
motion?
not, yeah. Just asking a question, right? I guess if we need to reconsider, and we're gonna have this discussion, then I'll make a motion to reconsider.
I'll move we reconsider.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Move to reconsider by Mr.
Madsen.
Madsen, man.
I'll
He
second
didn't
it.
take my vitamins.
I can use some cue cards.
Seconded by
for re-
Mr. Harden. We're just gonna vote whether we wanna reconsider right now. Any discussion? All in favor of reconsideration? Yeah, actually, that's fine, so, 5-0. Okay, so, we'll reconsider this and whether or not to remove it. So procedurally, I don't think we make a motion as to whether we want to reject this and add something new till after we've heard from everybody,
Yeah.
I think. Go ahead.
To answer your question, we did look at basically any alternative location on the property, and it is a large parking area in the front, but the place that the coffee cart sits currently is both the widest and the currently least used section of the parking lot. There wasn't another spot that didn't have dedicated parking or existing entries where this could kind of conveniently be placed. But the other aspect is the place the coffee cart is will be, the place the coffee cart sits now will be at the center of this truck traffic coming kind of in and around it, but is tucked right up against a long curb that separates 2 entrances from 302. And so our thought was the current placement is even with the trucks, the area with the most maneuverability and the least amount of traffic in the large parking lot. And so didn't see a compelling reason that another spot on the property would be better for this.
Okay. Your turn.
I'm Mary Ann Cheney. I live in Bridgton. So, sorry I'm so late in the game. I didn't realize this was happening. Our concern, I'm at the coffee cart 6 days a week. I've watched the traffic flow. So my concern about the traffic change is, and I'm thinking I talked to the chief of police. He put a letter here for me to give to you guys. But if we have traffic coming this way, one way, what what we fear will happen is, like you pointed out, as they try to, merge together. So I'm thinking in the summer when we have all the tourists coming. So one thing that we worry about is as they sit trying to turn out onto Portland Road, as they wait, cars back up. And then it backs up, and then if you have 2 lanes going in, you're gonna have 2 lanes going like this, that will then back out onto Portland Road. So it becomes a traffic hazard as the cars go out. One of the things we dealt with when we went through this process was the traffic flow, because they were concerned, like at Duncan's, how the traffic goes out into the road, and that it was a bit of a hazard. So the cart was built with the sole purpose of a opposite drive-through window. We get people through there pretty quick. They come in, they go out. It's just a real easy flow. To move the cart within that lot, we are hardwired into main central power. So from our cart, there's a big power cable that goes, and it just is, the electrician put it directly into CMP. So we have a bump that you have to drive over. To move it anywhere else, and we had discussed this before, you would have to have that cord, strung wherever with that speed bump. And so when we set it where we set it, it was, like he said, the furthest away, with the anticipation that eventually that space would probably be utilized for something. So as the furthest away as it would be, to not impede any kind of business that could come in there. So I believe, from being there, working there every day, that if we were to change direction of traffic, it would become a nightmare. It would absolutely become a nightmare. And I talked to the chief of police, and he did say too, he said that there have been no traffic accidents or issues whatsoever, and that there is a concern that if we were to have to switch it to a dual one-way, that could potentially cause some traffic hazards.
So we don't have that letter in the record? It
No,
looks pretty
he just brought
short.
this to me.
Yeah, could you read it to us?
Yes. It says, at your request, I have received the data related to the motor vehicle crashes and traffic hazards in the area of your business located at 151 Portland Road. I searched our records for any of these instances that could have occurred within the time frame of January 2021 to present, using the location of Portland Road in Bridgton. Of 151 incidents, I observed that none were reported at your location. I also observed that among those locations where crashes and traffic hazards were reported, some were near parking lots with specifically designated traffic flow, and some were located near parking lots with no direct traffic flow. They did not appear to have any kind of correlation. I attached a printout of all the reports in this memo, and so he gave me a list of all the traffic accidents.
Okay, thanks. It would be great if you could give that to our admin, Laura Lee, and she can make a copy of that for the record. Okay. Does the board have any questions of anybody else? Ken?
Yes, when you were mentioning the trucks, how many trucks per day do you anticipate?
That'd be a question for,
Yeah.
if you could state your name again, please.
Yeah, Florian Knapp with Hancock Lumber. For the millwork, we said 2 to 3 inbound. Those would be box trucks a week. And on the panels, flatbeds, that's probably 1, maybe 2 a day.
And what time would these trucks be coming in? The same time as people coming for coffee in the morning, or staggered throughout the day? Do they come in the morning?
It's staggered throughout the day. We don't have a fixed schedule.
So you said 1 panel truck a day?
Yeah, 1 to 2.
1 to 2, and those are the 40-foot trucks?
Right.
Correct. The others are just,
Box trucks, small delivery trucks for millwork.
Ms. Miller?
Well, I wasn't here for that discussion, so I was surprised to find that there was a condition made. I think perhaps striping might work, but I don't know why it's necessary. I've been there many times, I've never seen a truck. And I think that we can assume that people who drive on the road see trucks and they act appropriately. And I agree with Dan that if you send all the traffic to one exit, it's doubling the traffic at one exit, whereas it's dividing it and they're going to 2 different directions. So I was surprised to see the condition. I think that sometimes we just have to rely on people to use good sense. And I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
You can stripe it if you want, and to make the lanes visible more, because I don't recall what's there. I'm always concentrating on the coffee. But, in any
Okay.
case,
So Kathy, you were here at that meeting, you're the only person that hasn't commented, do you have any comments?
Based on what I've heard, because I've only been there a couple of times, and it was summer, so traffic flow seemed to be not a major issue, but I know that this coming summer, that can always be problematic, so I think our reconsideration is probably a good idea now that we have additional data.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so I'd accept a motion, how to put this in the, Ken, you usually can help me put motions as a positive.
may I ask
I
a
think-
question? Is there any striping done now
No,
on the pavement?
no, but right now, I'm just looking at the current conditions, it doesn't mean there won't be another condition. So I'd accept a condition to remove the condition of approval that, number one, which states, traffic lanes for existing Sail Away Coffee Company cart will be parallel, striped, and will be in the same direction as the Hancock lumber truck. Is there a motion for that?
Yeah, move that it, number 1 be deleted.
Motion by Mr. Gibbs. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Miller. Jeez, last name, I guess I'll go to first names tonight.
I've always liked that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? 4-1. Okay, so we've removed that condition. Now D, the second condition is the entrance and exit for the truck traffic will be clearly marked and in the same direction as the coffee cart entrance.
Basically,
That-
do the same thing, and just delete that one.
Yeah.
Well,
I understand.
the entrance and exit for the truck traffic should be clearly marked.
Yeah, I think we can keep that in there, but that we take out the rest of the sentence.
Oh, what's the rest?
And in the same direction as the
Oh,
coffee
yeah.
cart. It
Yeah,
can't,
that-
it
that's,
can't.
yeah.
It can't be in the same direction now
So-
because we
okay,
just
so,
said
yeah.
they can go
So
this
I'd
way.
accept a motion to modify the condition of approval number 2 to read, the entrance and exit for truck traffic will be clearly marked, period.
Period. So moved.
Moved by Mr. Gibbs, seconded by Mr. Harden. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0. Okay, so now, in terms of, Ms. Miller, in terms of traffic lane, if you have, in striping, if you have a proposal, please go ahead.
I'm really rather neutral, but I think that if you have those lanes striped, then there's absolutely no question as to anyone wandering about. I really think it's unnecessary, frankly. It seems to work the way it is now. I mean, there's an object for people going in there, they want to stop at the window.
Well, they're not gonna drive up 5 feet away from the window,
No.
that's for sure.
Right.
So, does
So-
anybody feel the need to propose a motion for the striping? Okay. All right, then, what we currently have as conditions of approval is that the entrance and exit for truck traffic will be clearly marked. And that's it.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would like to make one comment, what kind of modified my mind was the fact that the largest truck is 40 feet. And you got about, let's say, easily 100 feet of clearance, but just a comment to those who spoke, because the fire, it's not that we don't take the fire department, police department, and all the departments seriously, but it's our job to make sure on these standards that if safety is part of that standard, and safety is part of that standard, that we mind it, because I think the last thing any of us want is for there to be somebody gets hurt as a result of it. So just extemporaneous comment there. Okay, I think that's it.
Okay.
Now,
Now,
moving on,
do we have to vote on?
we
now
need to vote on the
Finding of facts.
on the findings and facts and conditions of law. So I'd accept the motion to accept the findings and facts and conclusions of law for Hancock Lumber Company.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Madsen, seconded by Mr. Gibbs. Any further discussion?
Do we need to add in there with the updated conditions that we're not approving the ones that are on the
Yeah.
OneDrive?
Yeah,
Well, I don't think so, because
okay.
we removed them from the document.
Okay.
We removed them as a decision, and now the document is just, you're just saying it reflects it.
Okay.
So, okay, any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0. Okay. Laura Lee, don't let me leave without signing, giving you the signed one. All right, next on the agenda. 5B, Camp Woodlands Road, map 6, lot 40, findings of fact and conclusions of law. So you have before you the findings, and there are some items that I had questions about, or were information that was somewhat that was not missed, but that came up as I was writing them, that I need to pass by the board, or at least explain them. So, Mr. Gibbs?
are all of your additions or changes in red?
They're in red, or in one case in blue, which was really a question. So, if you go to page 3, under number 3, you'll see what's been added when I'm talking about or when we're talking about the common area, that approximately 1.9 acres of land lies within the 250-foot shoreline zone, or shoreland zone, that should be. And the reason I'm put that in there is that is an existing condition. And so, and I think because later on in the findings it talks about you don't need all 2 acres within the shoreland zone. It'd be good for somebody reading this to know how much is in the shoreland zone.
Okay,
Okay?
that's good.
The next item is on page 5, under pollution. And this is actually in 2 places. And it says, the project is not located in a flood hazard area with the exception of a small part of the shoreland common area. See shoreland zoning section of these findings. Because that wasn't clear until I started going through things, I added that for clarification.
Do you need the dimensions from it, or is it okay to just say small part?
I could say, I mean, we're talking like, on the map, I think it's like 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah, I would
So-
just keep it the way it is.
I think it's fine, leave it the way it is.
What I will do is I do say for them to refer to the shoreline zoning section, and that section refers to the map, I believe. If it doesn't, we'll add it. The next one is on page 7M, on the floodplains, the same exact addition. The next one, freshwater wetlands, I had made an error in cutting and pasting what the applicant had under there. And if you recall, when they removed one lot, went from 13 lots to 12, they removed the impact on any of the wetland areas.
Yeah, so.
So I made that correction, because that was essentially an error. On the next lot, I really need the board's input here, because I'm extending what I thought the condition that we eventually had, what you intended. So if you remember, one of the conditions was that there would be no more than 3,500 square feet of impervious area, which would be in keeping with an acceptable stormwater management system and phosphorus export. But part of the assumptions of that was also 10,000 square feet of grassed area. So meaning you're not, or lawn. So meaning you're not gonna be clearing any more than, have a cleared area that's more than 10,000 square feet of lawn. Unless, obviously, there's some other issue that, but that's also embedded into the stormwater, the approved stormwater report.
Yeah.
So, I guess my question to the board is, and when we get to the end, we're gonna have to vote on the condition, if you could just be thinking about whether or not that should be incorporated. Okay. The next one, page 9, this was something that, I'm sorry, as chair, I overlooked, but the applicant requested a waiver, and we did not discuss that waiver. So
By the
the-
way, page 8.
9.
9,
No, I'm
page
talking
8.
about page 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid waste disposal,
Well,
solid waste disposal.
Yeah, why do you have the landscaping under natural and historic features?
Because that's the only place that
The only
it
place to
brings
put
up,
it.
brings-
Okay.
brings it up. So what were you trying to tell me?
Page 8 of 16, solid waste disposal, if I remember correctly, you are providing a solid waste hauler that people are gonna be using the dump, or the transfer station, is that correct?
That came word for word from the application.
Okay, but I remember in discussions you said something different. But that's okay, we'll keep it in place.
Well, I'm kind of on the same page as you. I thought when we were in discussions that they're not gonna have a dumpster on site.
No,
This
not
is not a
that,
dumpster.
but I think the owner clearly stated at the last meeting, they would have somebody haul trash out. That it didn't sound like it could be the association doing it, but it didn't sound like it was just straight off to the transfer station to me. So what, do you want to clarify for us, please?
It's my understanding that there'll be a solid waste, like a trash pickup. Regular
Trash pickup, which will be a private.
That's my
company.
understanding, yep.
Okay, so this statement
Okay.
in here
Just wanted to
Yeah.
All right,
clarify.
yep, no,
is
that's fine.
accurate, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, Michael.
That's good.
So just so you know, Mr. Tadema has read over these findings. He's actually the one that gave me the correction on the wetlands. Okay, natural and historic features, a waiver was requested for landscaping, and, if you could just look over that, the comment there, because you're gonna have to agree or disagree to give the waiver. So just so you know what I did, I basically lifted the justification, the written justification from the applicant directly out and put it there. And we did not talk about this.
Was any planting proposed for the shorefront common area?
No.
No. Oops.
Go ahead, Mr. Ted.
So I would hope that wouldn't preclude the developer from planting. You know, I think they will probably enhance some of the plantings there, but essentially this being the vast majority of the site being forested and wooded, and the intent being to limit clearing only to those areas required. There's not gonna be a lot of additional landscaping. So we've requested a waiver, not from landscaping itself, but just from submitting a landscape plan. So that's what the waiver is for, just from the
So you
submission
put some
requirement itself.
decorative landscaping at,
Probably at the entrance to the subdivision and probably around in the common area, I would think.
and that's the way, that does state that the applicant requested a waiver from the requirement to submit a landscaping plan, there's no.
Well, since he's already said right here, for everybody to know, and it's part of the record, that there's going to be just minimal landscaping in these two areas, it doesn't seem to me that that's necessitating a waiver from a landscaping plan. It seems to me that's the plan.
Well, what's asked for in the subdivision is a specific written plan, so I
Yeah.
think that's, would
Right,
just
but
be.
if they had said there will be landscaping and told us what, at the entrance, and shrubbery individual, they're not planting an orchard or anything that would disturb the land, it seems to me that that's the plan. And I would prefer to do that than to see a waiver, because I don't think it's a hardship for them to just say they're going to have simple landscaping, you don't have, they just don't want to tell what type, what kind of tree, what kind of shrub.
Isn't it a specific request on the applicant's part?
Yes. I think, let's just,
So we make a decision whether we want to say yes or no.
yes, I mean, I think, yes, I think we should make a decision whether we want to say yes or no on the waiver.
Did we vote on the waiver?
We did not, that's
not.
why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, okay.
If you could bear with me for 1 minute here. So in the application submission requirements for the final subdivision plan, what it says is required is a landscaping plan, a proposed landscaping plan. So it kind of depends on how you define that. So, you know, what we're used to is a plan that shows, it's a rendering of, by arborist.
Yeah, that was my interpretation was, and this usually is, you see it more in site plans than you do on subdivisions, but a plan showing the number and type of species and where they're located, and it's usually a very specific plan. We would prefer to avoid that. It gives the applicant and the developer a little more freedom to choose those plants, and it allows for the homeowners association to maybe change up some of those species and number of species
Right.
if in the future some of them don't do well. So
Okay.
that was really all we're asking.
This
So-
is a small matter. I don't think it's worth another minute of
So I
discussion.
take a,
I just don't like waivers when there
Yeah.
is a plan. That's all right.
well, so I'd accept a
Forget it.
motion to approve the requested waiver for landscaping.
Move to approve the requested waiver.
Second.
Second by first by Mr. Gibbs, second by Mr. Harden. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0.
Do you have anything else here?
Yep,
One more.
just on page 11, again, maximum lot coverage, the same thing is repeated, the 10,000 square feet.
Oh.
And then on page 12, I didn't know the height of the clubhouse. I understand now it's 26 feet. Is that correct? And
Let's not call it a clubhouse.
well, I call it a community clubhouse, because that's what the applicant called it.
Yeah, one of the drawings says
If you want me to change it
common
to,
building.
huh?
One of the drawings has common building or community building or something
Would you,
like that.
would the board like me to, I don't think we need a motion for that. Would the board like me to change that or not? I hear,
I would, because clubhouse is prohibited,
but
so,
it's throughout their application.
yeah.
It looks a little shaky. Either we've explained well enough what its use is or we haven't.
Or we haven't.
Okay, and then at the end, so two things at the end. Number one is the addition of the 10,000 square feet of lawn on our condition. Okay, which looks like it's not in red, but it's there. It's item number 4.
Number 4.
And then,
Last page.
and then the waiver which we approved. I would like the board to vote on extending that condition to be not just the 3,500 square feet of impervious area, but also the 10,000 square feet of lawn area.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mattson, is there a second? Second by Mr. Harden, any further discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Okay, with all of that, I would now accept a motion to approve the findings and fact and conclusions of law as written, but with the agreements just made in the text.
Yeah. Move to approve the finding of facts and conditions of law with the additions and emendations.
Okay, seconded by Ms. DiPietro, any further discussion?
I
All in
think this was
favor?
a very well done and complicated
Yes.
finding, and I think I applaud the attention to detail.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Miller, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right,
Did we vote on it?
no, we didn't vote on it. All in favor, please raise your hand, 5-0. Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr., we have things to sign, don't we?
I just want to thank the board. I think it was, it got a little complicated at times, but I think you all did a great job. And I did bring plans. If you could sign one so I could take it and have it recorded, I would appreciate it.
Oh,
Well, I
okay.
appreciate your patience throughout the process. And that of the owner,
And the abutters,
yes, and the abutters.
yeah.
You want to get it recorded real fast.
So we need to sign this now.
Sign now.
And I did have them add
Oh,
that to the bylaw too.
okay, great. Oh, you did, okay, thanks a lot. We just had better look, so.
Okay, yeah.
So I just have one question for you, Michael. When you talked about the 2.1 acres, it's basically on the line here. Where is, it is that?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
And then it connects there.
Okay, yeah, okay.
It has added lot 19, which references your 35.
10,000 square feet.
Okay.
Okay, and the well is, okay.
Oh, thank you.
Oops.
There was a pen.
Oh, you can use mine.
Thank you. I thought there was one here.
It was, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I took my pen, sorry.
No, there was, I thought there was another one, sorry. Just two?
I was just looking for it.
Well, you should be happy that I was able to get back up.
Said it's up there.
I might have been a permanent fixture on the floor.
We would have come to rescue you.
should be something on these jeans, you push a button and it pushes your feet. It's called a brace. Oh, my.
Thank you.
LE 2003. I think so.
Oh, I guess it was going to be a secret. It's not here.
Okey-dokey. Moving right along. New business, item 6A, Old School Creamery, Portland Road, map 27, lot 72B. Before we get into the details, is there anybody that wishes to recuse themselves? The applicant has standing, staff has actually confirmed that notices were properly served. Do we feel the application is substantially complete?
Yes.
Okay. We feel we need a public hearing or site walk? Okay. All right, then let's get right into it. Ms. Mannix, if you'd go to Mike, identify yourself and just give us a brief overview of your project.
Julie Mannix, I live in Harrison, and I own the building located at 52 Portland Road. It's also called 50 Portland Road because it used to be a two-family house. Its last tenant was Bridgton Eye Care, and I'm going to open it up as my own business probably this spring, summer, by adding a kitchen to one room so that I can produce some of my cheese there, as well as some baked goods, and work with some friends who do some organic farming and bring in some other local farm stand type products.
Okay. Questions from the board about the evidence? Mr. Gibbs? And then Ms. DiPietro.
Yeah, just one question. You're going to be processing the cheese within the building?
Yes.
And I think that there was a small question of, does that produce,
The
does it need
effluent.
a lot of water? Does it have a lot of effluent?
The cheese, when it's drained, produces whey. Whey never goes into the septic system, and it won't go into the sewer line if I opted to hook into that. I give it to local farmers to feed to their livestock. It's considered a pretty valuable resource to pass along.
So very little will be going into, you're going to keep the private septic system?
I'm not gonna hook into private, I have a private septic, yeah. I'm not gonna hook into the public system unless I need to. So the only thing going into the septic field would be the equivalent of household waste, detergents, one bathroom use, that type of thing.
Yeah. One quick question. Will you have ovens? Will you be
There will be baking going on, yes.
baking going on?
Ms. DiPietro, you had a question?
Right, I was wondering about how much cheese do you plan to process there, like on a per-week basis? How many pounds approximately?
I can't really answer that right now until I see how my animals freshen.
Can you give us an idea of, I had the same, very similar question to Kathy's. Can you give us an idea of the scale that you're planning for anyway? Are you planning on, like,
It would be,
a container this big of,
oh God, no.
I mean, how big is the
No,
process in
this
general?
is, a one-person operation.
Okay,
I usually cook the cheese in a 4-gallon container.
okay.
So that's,
So I have to be able to lift that and process
And,
it.
and what's, I guess what's the largest container? Is it 4 gallon about the largest part of your process?
4 gallons at a time.
Okay, all right.
yeah.
Other questions, Ms. Miller?
Are you gonna need any extraordinary kind of refrigeration,
No,
just normal kitchen?
I have been operating with 1 freezer and 1 refrigerator, both meeting Energy Star standards, and I can get by with that.
And another question, so you're not going to be serving people there? People will be coming in
No.
and taking the goods off the premises?
Right.
So the big room will be used for show.
That'd be like retail.
So you have bins for produce,
That would be in the same area.
counters, et cetera.
Yeah. That's a fairly good-sized room. I think I
Yeah, it
can
is a big room, that's what I was asking.
put a couple loaves of bread in there.
Dan, how about you? Any questions?
No, my question basically was gonna come down to the sewer thing, but, you know, if you do hook into public sewer, just make sure you put some type of grease trap in. You know, we all plan for not putting anything down there, but stuff does happen. But if you're going into your own septic and you don't have a grease trap, I guess that's really comes down to your own issue. If stuff gets in there to block up the lines, but if
Right.
you're going, eventually, if you do go into the public sewer, that you would put in some type of grease trap for it.
We can always put that in the findings.
Yeah.
Or as a condition.
Yeah, other than that, man.
Just, I have a couple questions, but just some clarification from Ms. Day. On Mr. Madson's. So Mr. Madson was concerned with a grease trap being needed if it went into the wastewater.
Correct.
Okay. And based on this change of use, is there anything the applicant needs to do or that you need to inspect,
Not
do
for
anything with
private
her
sewer.
septic?
I mean,
No.
she wants to be mindful of that, obviously, so that she doesn't have
Okay.
any
So
problems.
she doesn't need to submit anything to you? Okay. Okay, the question I had was, were you gonna have, so I don't know much about making cheese, but I think you start with milk, right? In this case, goat milk.
You're halfway there?
My question was, will there be any, delivery trucks bringing milk? But it sounds like your operation is small enough that you're talking about bringing in
Yeah.
things in a small truck or an SUV or something like that. You're not gonna have large delivery vehicles,
Right.
unloading, okay. Mr. Gibbs?
Is there any special fire protection that's necessary for baking ovens
No,
and things like?
the fire department didn't reveal anything, just the smoke and alarm systems.
Yeah, are
A
the
fire
electric or,
extinguisher.
electric or gas?
Yes.
Gas.
While you can. While you can.
Ms.
Are you
Miller?
anticipating having any classes or demonstrations where there'd be larger groups of people who wouldn't be customers but would stay there for a particular length of time?
There may be an opportunity to teach a cheese-making class or two, depending upon time allowances.
So how many, I don't think that's straight, but how many parking spaces are there?
Out front, there's probably 8,
Yeah, about
and
8.
as the owner-operator, I would be parking around towards the back.
Okay.
So
It's a
that's
fairly deep lot.
7 or 8.
7 or 8 spots, and what's your expectation with clientele coming in? Hopefully millions, right?
We're gonna need a new traffic light out front.
But that would be important, parking, if you were having groups there for any length of time.
Yeah, if it was a group that was coming in for a class or something, that would be part of the instructions would be to park in the back.
Okay, great, yeah, there's a pretty large back area.
Just to keep the front parking lot as uncongested as possible.
Okay. And you're not, just to confirm, you're not expanding the building at all or the parking area at all?
No.
Okay, all right.
Just got any part-time help?
No.
God bless you.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, then I suggest we move, and do you have any questions for the board before we deliberate?
No.
Okay, in that case, let's move on to deliberations. Oh, I guess not, Mr. Gibbs, you got another question?
Yes, you
Go
will be
ahead.
putting up a sign,
Yes.
yes. And so, I guess simply, you would have a permit for that. and you-
Right.
Okay,
I can put that in the conditions, it's stated in the impact statement.
right, and so that,
All right.
Is the sign going to be in the same location?
Excuse me?
Is the sign going to be in the same location?
I think that it will be pretty much in the same location because of the setback from the
I've
street.
always had a problem with backing up in that parking, that first, with that sign. I'm just wondering if there might be a chance just to attach it to the building and not have the,
I'll have
but
to,
I don't want to impose
yeah.
any,
Well, I think that the sign frame
difficulties.
that's there has some rot, so it's gonna be either replaced or we can consider moving it. And then I'll work with whatever the
yeah.
sign ordinance will allow me to do.
I mean, that's only my problem, but it may be other people's problem.
But she'll need the way, she'd want visibility too, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
right,
Right.
yes.
But- Yeah, Ms. Day?
We're putting an exhaust fan in as well over the stove, right?
Yep.
Okay.
discussed that, and it wasn't an application.
It wasn't in the application, so there'll be an installed
Exhaust
exhaust fan?
Yes,
And where will that be located, in the kitchen area?
yeah.
Above the
Okay.
stove.
okay,
Okay, now are we ready for deliberations?
okay.
Okay. So first is the use. The applicant is making cheese, but I wouldn't say that it's manufacturing, so.
Home crafts.
It seems to me that it's retail. Is the closest I can come. I don't know honestly how to classify it.
Well, it started as retail way back also. It was a health food store.
She'll be making and selling cheese.
Yeah, and that,
It's not manufacturing, but you could stretch it and say it's,
And doing some baking also.
retail,
okay, I'll go with retail.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
go with retail.
yeah.
All right. Dimensional standards, minimum lot size is actually grandfathered, the lot size is 18,730.8, and 20,000 is the spec.
And the parking is
The
grandfathered.
building placement is grandfathered so long as there's no expansion. And same with the setbacks are met. Okay. Does anybody have anything else on, and obviously the height is less than 35 feet. Does anybody have anything else on the dimensional standards? And it's all, obviously also not in the shoreline zone. Nobody else on dimensional standards? Okay.
They're not going to change.
On district-specific space and bulk standards, this is in DVB 2. I would submit everything in here for facade, building projections. Anybody have any comments to me? These look like they're either all non-conforming or they're acceptable.
Yeah, it's an existing building, yeah,
Okay.
so she's not modifying it.
Just an internal change.
Just an internal upgrade.
Landscaping is asked for, the applicant has said that, that's a lot of landscaping in those. So Downtown Village Business District 2, number 7, landscaping. Any comments? To me, this looks,
Can I ask a quick question, Deb?
yeah,
I can't find it right off the top of my head here, but do you know how many square footage that is? How much square footage the building is
Inside or the lot?
inside?
it's 1,600 square feet.
So we can't really do retail, only on one side, because small retail is allowed, but it's 1,500 square feet maximum. So large retail wouldn't be allowed, which is over 1,500, unless we just counted that area. I kind of had mentioned with Julie and I had talked about this, and that's why I almost classified it as a restaurant, kind of like a food truck, because the square footage of the building for all retail is large retail. And
But she is baking something.
right, and large retail is not allowed. So I think we should classify that under a restaurant, because that would, I mean, she is serving stuff. It would be like a food truck.
And you are still getting, just so I be
In the
clear,
brick and
you
mortar.
still have to get state licenses for what you're doing.
Yes, I need to either get new ones or transport them to that address.
Yes,
to
okay.
that facility.
Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
The reason I asked that is because if we classify it as a restaurant, we just gotta make sure that she has the health
does include the
certificate from
second
the
floor?
state.
Yeah, that includes
So
the
she
second
already-
floor square footage.
Yeah.
Then that would change it. If she's saying this, the second floor, that's included in that square footage and it's not being used. So it would be under the 1,500.
Okay.
Well, I did it
I just want-
based on the dimensions of the building. So I just did
And how much was
The
that?
floor
Trying to find it on the application real quick, I couldn't find it.
it
just
wasn't
can't be
on the
over 15.
application, I measured it.
Just can't be over the
Farmers market
1,500.
Brenda, farmer's market farm stand?
It was like, no, what I think we could do is we
Oh, the
could say it's a
kitchen.
restaurant, but we could also say that it's a restaurant with a retail use. And, because even though it's it's large, it's already there, and the entire store is not gonna be for retail.
Right.
I mean, it's
So
not
that's
to
why I say
say a
either divide it
restaurant
out.
doesn't also sell things too. So we could leave it as a restaurant, but let me just tell you what, just to be accurate, what I measured. 'Cause I just looked at the floor plan that was given by Ms. Mannix. And I had that the building was 48.5 feet long by 33 feet wide. And that comes out to 1,600 square feet. And that's based on this. Ms. Miller?
Well, inasmuch as the kitchen, if you take the kitchen away and call it a prep area, it's not a retail area. What bothers me is calling it a restaurant when it really doesn't meet what the public thinks of as a restaurant. I'd rather call it what it is, which is retail with a prep area. And the question is the prep area going to be large enough to make the retail area?
You just have to have a use for the prep area that's allowed.
Well, is prepping allowed?
It's not a use in the.
Prepping is not.
Prepping is
Prepping
not
isn't.
allowed.
I think the way to do this is
We're
we
really-
can say it's two uses, that a portion of the building is retail, a portion of the building falls under a restaurant classification, because she will be baking things and making things, but it's just not a sit-down restaurant, it's more like
It's a grab and
Take
go.
out,
it's like a, you know,
Takeout, okay.
take out.
so, I think that's the way I propose doing the findings, if that's okay with the board.
That satisfies me.
And if we have to, we can say the prep part is a similar use to a restaurant, which we are allowed to do, and it's fairly similar. Which makes it
All right.
Okay. She makes it, she bakes it, she sells it.
She makes it, bakes it.
Oh, we just have some
People takes
labels
it.
there.
Okay.
Here's where I'm at.
There's all kinds of considerations in landscaping here about shade trees being placed and medium trees and all of this. The applicant has said they're gonna beautify the area with some shrubs out front. It seems to me with the tarmac and everything else, I don't know
Not a lot of room.
if we just consider this a grandfathered area completely because
Yeah, 'cause
what's she gonna do,
everything's-
rip up tarmac to put
Yeah.
trees in?
Yeah, there's no space to do anything.
Okay. So are you okay with
Maybe right
saying
in
that
front of the building.
it's
you can do
because of
something.
the non-conforming?
Yeah, I'm sure you're talking more like putting planting areas out,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I have to, I mean, the rest of it is, you know, so you've got the snow somewhere.
Yeah,
And it's
Okay.
direct sun, so you can't have anything shade related out there.
okay.
Right. So,
Does that, all right, I'll describe it. Do we think we need to describe that as a waiver? Are we okay with saying
Yeah.
that because you got a large parking lot there, it's
Yeah.
it's non-conforming?
grandfather there.
Okay,
okay.
all right, moving on to the site plan. Just speak up if you have a question on something or a condition. Section V6, general review criteria, number A, general, which is the proposed use we've discussed. And that it meets other requirements in the comprehensive plan. Preservation and enhancement of the landscape.
Yep.
Relationship to surroundings. Vehicular and pedestrian traffic. Traffic circulation. Parking. Surface water drainage.
Excuse me,
Ms.
is
Miller?
that parking area striped or designated?
But it's pretty worn off, I need to restripe it.
Yeah, I think that would be wise because you only have the places there if people park as they're supposed to. If somebody just zips in from the road and doesn't come in straight.
Right.
So that would preserve the number of places that you have.
Yeah, that would be a condition.
Do we want it as a condition?
Well,
She said
That's
she's
just
gonna
a
do
general
it.
maintenance of any business. I wouldn't put it as a condition.
Yeah, she said she's gonna do it.
Well, yeah, the reason I say don't put it as a condition, I go in there with a plow truck and that painting is gone next year, and then somebody goes in and says, oh, she didn't stripe it, but yet she did. And
I wonder for the number of clients, if you actually, the striping would be nice, but do you really need it, or can people figure out how to park their cars there?
It's hard to park there.
I need lines.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
It's hard to park there.
we'll make it a condition. Sounds like she's okay with it.
and,
All right,
and then we'll remove them every winter for you.
We'll let Dan remove them then.
impervious surfaces, public utilities, advertising features,
The sign.
The sign, we
we
should
talked
get the
about that,
permit.
special
yeah.
features of the development, exterior lighting,
Oh, any new lighting that you're going to put outside?
she did mention that.
I'll
Yeah.
probably put some lighting out there, like LED, just a soft string light or something.
She put that in the app.
Mhm.
So something in the window or something like that?
So, but something outside.
Okay, all right.
And downward.
Like carriage lights or something.
Doesn't blind us when we're
That would be
driving.
like a equivalent to a Christmas tree light.
Okay,
Oh. Be very happy looking.
and I'm sure Ms. Day will tell you if it's not to code. So, okay, special features of the development, exterior lighting, emergency vehicle access, municipal services. I'll come back to the impact statements at the end. Water quality, groundwater quality and quantity, air quality, water supply, soil and erosion control, sewage disposal. I think we have a condition here that, if
Grease trap.
the applicant moves to
public
the
sewer.
public system, a grease trap would need to be there.
Yep.
Scenic impacts, noise, how noisy is it? The goats aren't there, right? You're not gonna have goats.
Okay, got it.
Location in the floodplain, Did you confirm it was in or out of the floodplain by any chance? Brenda, can we confirm that, just for the fine, I don't think it's in the floodplain, but is that something you can confirm?
I can, yep.
Thank you. Adequate technical and financial capacity, special regulations, it does not look like any of these apply. Road design does not apply. I believe that's it. And the department has asked for fire extinguishers and smoke detectors, and then the building and sign permits and state licenses. Do we want those as conditions, or, I don't,
I don't see a need for it.
well,
The fire,
If you can't operate
extinguishers
without them,
have
but
to
they're
be-
not air conditioned, they're the state's conditions, so I
so
don't.
if I could, do you mind going to the mic, just so people can hear you? So you've seen the fire chief's impact statements, right?
Yes.
And just because it wasn't in the application, do you plan to install the fire extinguishers and the smoke detectors?
Yes.
Okay, then I think if she's committing to doing it, and we gotta do it for code anyway, I don't think it needs to be a
okay,
condition.
and she's verbally committed, yes.
Right, and that'll be in the findings, that the applicant commits to install those.
He came for a walkthrough and I brought up smoke alarms, fire extinguishers, and the exit signs.
Chief Garland, anything else? No? Good?
This one's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. Could I have a motion to approve the application? Moved by Mr. Manson, seconded by Mr. Harden.
Okay.
Wait a minute, let me
You
start
have to
over.
read the thing.
Could I have a motion to tentatively approve the project as presented with the condition that if they need to move to the public wastewater system, they'll install a grease trap, and also the condition that they will stripe their parking lot. Okay. Now moved by Mr. Madison, Mr. Madison, seconded by Mr.
Subject
Hart.
to the finding of
Yeah,
facts
you
and
might
conditions
get-
of law.
Subject to the findings of fact and conditions of law. Well,
Okay.
I thought I had the yellow sheet memorized. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Will, the administrative assistant Laura Lee and I will write up the findings, and you will have them by the March meeting, but, should look. But I think, just talk to the code enforcement officer about,
The sign.
technically you should wait till we write it up, but it's really your risk going ahead. I don't think anything's gonna change. Probably shouldn't tell you that, but I'd be shocked. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah. Harris.
Next item of new business is Harrison Marina on Portland Road, map 9, lot 72B. It's 249 Portland Road. And this is for a showroom, boat sales and showroom. First of all, is there anybody that wishes to recuse themselves? Take that as a no. The applicant appears to have standing and has sent the proper notices. Does anybody believe we should hold a public hearing? Mr. Manson?
I do it just because to be consistent also for the Long Lake Marina, we required a public hearing for their building. And I think it's the right thing to do.
Okay, and I certainly have questions about some of them. So, do you want to make that a motion? Moved by Mr. Manson to hold a public hearing, is there a second? seconded by Ms. DiPietro. Any further discussion? All in favor? Three in favor? Wait,
Oh, I'm in, I'll go.
okay. All opposed? 2 opposed, 3-2. So we'll hold a public hearing, and we'll pick a date for that. Is the applicant here?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, could you come on up now? We need to have we really are overdue to have a workshop, which would be the February 21st date. It's about 2 weeks to basically do the notice. So if we want, what we could do is, Ms. Day, is there time for the applicant and Laura Lee to make notice for a public hearing? Or is it time for you to do it, I should say?
For what day?
For the 21st, 2 weeks from now?
You know,
Ms. Miller?
I'll change my vote because I think we're getting crowded and this doesn't seem to really be that controversial a thing.
God, what is Robert's rules for changing your vote?
Well, you have to ask for a reconsideration.
Yes.
Okay, well, that would solve
So
some
you
problems.
need to move to reconsider.
I move to reconsider my vote.
I'll second her.
Seconded by Mr. Gibbs. All in favor of reconsideration, please raise your hand. All opposed? 3-2 in favor of reconsideration. Okay, now we're going to pose the question again. Do we wish to hold a public hearing?
No.
I'll move to hold a public hearing. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Mattson. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. It won't be a public hearing. All right,
That's easy.
and do we feel, got a little ahead of myself, do we feel the application is substantially complete?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, I'm happy to continue, but I definitely have some significant questions, so see what we get done. All right, name, address, and just give us a brief overview of your, I believe it's Mr. Randall, but a brief overview of your project.
So Jason Randall, Harrison Marina, and the project's 249 Portland Road. So I purchased that little brown building that's been sitting there for years. So we propose to rip it down and add a 20 by 40 addition to the existing foundation that's there and put up just a boat showroom. The parking in that part of it's going to stay, is already existing. So it'll just be a new retail storefront. And we're going to hook to the town sewer and town water is the plan.
That's a residence, isn't it?
It's not. It's been a machine shop for, I think, 20 or 30 years. Then before that, it was a sauna back in like the 70s.
A sauna?
Yep.
Interesting.
That was fancy.
So,
Questions from the board? Ms. Miller?
Nothing.
Oh, I'll jump to Mr. Gibbs, he has a question.
just one thing, in your application, you say the building's going to be 30 feet high, but in your,
He said 35.
but you say 35 when you're looking at the building specs. So you got 30 in one and 35 in the other.
I'm not sure on that. I know the existing is only, I think it was 16 or 18.
It won't be any higher than 35 feet, right?
No, it's under, I think it's under that.
It's a peaked roof, right,
Yeah.
according to the plan.
I have a big plan too as well, if you guys want to see it. It's like
Yeah.
a little one that,
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, your plans are for 35, but your application
Right,
says
it
30.
says, I see where he's reading it, Jason, is, under the proposed changes to the existing structures, the very last sentence says, It will be 16 feet from the nearest abutter. Height will go from approximately 16 feet to 30 feet.
Okay.
So we just gotta,
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
should be 35.
Yeah, just change it to 35.
Yep, that's fine. This is a,
So wait, is the building gonna be 30, is it proposed to be
35.
35 feet high? Question I have is, did you have a perimeter survey done?
we're working on it, I just couldn't get them out there in time for this.
Okay, so,
There's already lines there, we pulled strings, so I'm gonna have, it's gonna be all the,
and will that perimeter survey have whether there's any wetlands or any other things?
yeah, there is
There.
anything on that piece of property.
Well,
But we need it official.
I've actually noticed something that looks like propane tanks or something very close to where you're gonna expand the building. So just make sure the perimeter survey has all,
Yeah.
you know, if you're gonna remove those tanks,
Yeah, that, everything's coming out of there.
make sure it's noted on that perimeter survey.
That's the inside, if you wanna see the exterior, obviously. That'll be the storefront on 302 Fulton Road.
So you're not changing the width, but the depth.
Just going to that, yeah.
Is the parking already paved?
It's not,
Is it gravel?
it is. So this would be on the Mexican restaurant side, and that'll be the rear. This would be on the marina side with a
You don't want windows on the Mexican restaurant side, people eating there who have discretionary cash can see the boats.
Yeah. There you go.
Is the metal gonna be, I see these lines, is it kind of corrugated so it
Yeah,
doesn't
so
look
it's gonna
like?
match my other building, that's
Okay,
the one.
Up here.
The one we just built, same color, with the black trim, it'll have black frame windows in the front with black asphalt shingles.
Okay.
Why are there no,
On this side.
you probably need somewhere to put the backs of the boats.
Yeah, that's where the back, we want wall space for like just retail, bumpers, life jackets, that type of thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
so you hang,
Yes.
Got a lot of windows in
In the front, of course, it's a showroom.
Yeah,
All right, so I'm-
showroom.
I must be confused on the location. Oh, the Mexican restaurant's to the right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, never mind, all right,
That's
yep,
about ready to fall down.
yep,
Where the sign is.
Yep.
Future
Yeah.
location.
Yeah.
All
yep.
right,
I was just, for some reason, I'm thinking it was further that way, but no.
That's good.
Just one bathroom, 2 small offices, and just a utility room.
are there any bathrooms in there now?
There is,
One or two?
just one.
Okay.
But you're gonna just tear everything.
Yeah, we're gonna tear that down,
Right.
leave the foundation, and add on to it.
So you use the existing septic system and,
No, we're gonna hook to town.
Hooked to the
okay, hook to
town.
town.
Okay, other questions?
There also is a sidewalk that's out front, and I spoke with Brenda, we're gonna, with the DOT to reconstruct that so it's specs.
Have you done a soil survey to determine that the slab can go where you want to put it? And you're not going to have any issues with
Contaminated soil.
the ground?
I haven't, no.
Do you have a landscaping plan?
Yeah, it was in,
Let's see.
it was in, I can see attached, but I can show you on this. if you want.
Sure.
So, along the front, the entrance comes in, we're just gonna put small plantings with bark mulch on the front. Then down the side, there'll be shrubs on each side. And the sign is gonna match my 117 location. We'll picture that in the application as well.
Okay, that's it.
Other questions, Ms. DiPietro?
Yes, about the existing parking. It's not paved, is there any stripes or any indication
No,
of
it's just,
what it
it's
is?
just gravel right now.
Okay.
Will you have some sort of sign directing people to the parking, or is it going to be dead obvious?
I mean, it's pretty open, but we
Okay.
I can put signs.
Well, I'm thinking you don't want people parking, you
Yeah,
know,
we're gonna
where the
have-
sidewalk is,
It's gonna be
right?
on the side of the building.
Right.
Where the side entrance is, we're trying to leave the front open
Okay.
with all the glass on the front.
More questions, Kathy?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out dimensions of everything and setbacks, though if it's, the parking lot's already there, then it's grandfathered in terms of setbacks and things like that.
That's why I asked if it was gravel.
Right.
So, and the gravel's obvious,
Yes.
okay? Because it is right up to the lot line.
Well, you are doubling the impervious area when you expand the building, so do we need to consider that as a stormwater?
Well, that was a question I had, and I don't know if Kathy had that question, but
I did.
I had, maybe you can go more into stormwater, but it doesn't seem to me like the same drainage can be used for a building twice the size with a, that's also twice the height. Especially since you're gonna be installing a new building. So that's, I know you don't need a stormwater management plan because you're not disturbing 20,000 square feet, but there's no comment at all on drainage other than it will be the same as what exists. So, can you enlighten us?
Yeah, I can do whatever I need to do drainage-wise. With, off this building, we can put gutters and divert it off into the sides or,
What you wouldn't want is water flowing onto the property of the Mexican restaurant, which is pretty close.
correct, yeah, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I own the piece behind it and beside it already, a separate piece.
Ms. DiPietro, questions?
Well, we do have wooded space out back, so you might want to at least spend maybe an hour or two with a civil engineer just to have them help you direct the drainage the way it probably would be best, so you're not icing over your own parking lot or
Yep,
interfering with anybody else.
we have one we're dealing with the other project, so I can have take a look at it.
Very good.
Any outside boat storage?
Not on that piece, other than new boats for show.
They're all inside or
There will be some in the lot next door, which is already permitted for it.
So where's your lot next door, over here?
It's the right-of-way beside it.
Right here? This is,
Yeah, so it comes in here and I own, I think it's 3 acres total beside it.
Are you gonna be doing you're not gonna be doing any washing of boats inside the building?
Nope.
Outside the building?
Nope, other than maybe rinse some dust off them with the garden hose, but nothing.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yeah, for your outside boat storage, or the new boats shown outside, do you have to change the land in any way? Do you have to put a new surface in for them to be on?
We would just upgrade what's there with, fresh gravel.
Is
Like
there
stone.
gravel there already?
It is, yep.
You stated not in a flood zone, but I didn't see any flood zone maps, and I'm wondering if Ms. Day can help out with that again. Because I know that it does back up to
Yeah,
wettish area.
way back on, there's a brook
Yeah.
way out on that abuts my other piece.
Other questions? So, before we enter deliberations, I want to let the board know what's on my mind is, if you guys are comfortable, you can convince me, but I'm slightly uncomfortable that we don't have a perimeter survey that shows what's there. And I'm uncomfortable that we really don't have a narrative on stormwater. And if the civil engineer finds something and wants to do it a certain way, I think we should know that before ground gets broken. I think an option is, if the board believes everything else is fine, is I could write up the findings, and upon reviewing the stormwater, we could confirm deliberations at the next meeting, which is March. Ms. Miller?
I'd like to see something first, before we deliberate, so that we can look at this in total, especially with the drainage.
Okay. Other comments? I know what Kathy thinks, I think.
And I'd like to see the perimeter survey.
Yeah, I would like to see a perimeter survey. I think in terms of a soil survey, what you could do is, if the board would the board accept the standard, sort of soil survey maps that we've seen in other applications for this, which I think would clearly say whether or not there's a problem
Yeah.
with building? Would that be okay?
Fine with me.
Okay. So, then I think we shouldn't deliberate here, and we should ask the applicant to come back with these items, but I think we should vote on it first. So the items that we're asking for you to come back with is a perimeter survey. At the very least, a narrative on the stormwater and the drainage on the plan there. To, work with Ms. Day to get the floodplain maps to confirm it's not in the floodplain. And, Ms. Day, do you mind me committing you to helping him find the soil survey maps?
Yeah.
And to provide a soil survey map. And once those are provided, then we would deliberate and render a decision.
So moved,
Moved by Mr.
whoever he
Gibbs,
is.
seconded by Mr. Mattson. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? 4-1. Okay, and now, what's your timeline for this?
I'd like to have it open by summertime, so.
Okay, all right. So if we were to finish up in March, that would meet your timeline.
Yes, sooner the better, works for me.
Okay, and you understand everything we're asking for? Okay? Great, I think we're done. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Look forward to your next visit.
Thanks.
All righty. Next on the agenda is a vacuum cleaner.
A vacuum cleaner?
When this is next to done.
Item 6C, Maker's Mill, map 23, lots 108 and 109. Man, that noise is, hey, Mr. Peabody, Mr. Town Manager, is there anything you can do about?
Can we get some soundproofing installed? And they have an easel up there if you need it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm probably gonna use that one.
Okay. So, once again, this is Maker's Mill, Main Street, map 23, lots 108 and 109 for this is a pre-application meeting. So as a reminder to the applicant, which is getting set up, but I think Justin hears me back there. This is a non-binding meeting for us to give advice. We should not discuss substantive items, but obviously if there's something you want them, if there's items that the applicant needs to pay attention to, we should be sure to point those out. But we shouldn't get into discussions about, too much about what's acceptable and what's not, without seeing everything. Okay. As soon as you folks get set up, go ahead and introduce yourself, and
Remember that shot? The good old days.
I remember that postcard, and I didn't live near there. that's
Yeah,
for sure.
there's the gas station.
Yep. So once you get set up, Justin, go ahead, introduce yourself, name and address, and we'll get rolling.
Yeah, sure. Why not? We got 20 boards here.
You know, you got past, present, future. train station.
Depot's the train station.
The gallery. Well, I am gonna have to move. I don't have energy to stand up.
Are you going to put the train station back?
All right. My name's Justin McIver. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, so thank you for having me tonight. I'd like to introduce you to the Maker's Mill. This is at 247 Main Street, which is the old Stone Surface or the old AG, some of you may remember, as well as 41 Depot, which is the Potter Place that, the Potter Place property as well. So there's a combination of two properties here. This was, and we're looking for the board's feedback tonight. This is an important project in the downtown. We're really excited about it. And this was created by the community and a large group of community members. Met at the site, and I invited a bunch of different people, from the town manager to Historical Society to LEA to businesses, chamber, local business owners, potential tenants, architects, engineers, landscape engineers. It was a pretty good sized group. Department heads, town department heads, and we did multiple site walks, and I said, what do you want to see? What do we want to see? This is what we're thinking and want to get your feedback. We want this to be a community collaboration project. It's a really important piece in the downtown. So we threw around all kinds of different ideas as a group, and this is ultimately what we came up with. We had several meetings together. The town manager and everybody was just really great on feedback and what they felt the town and the community would want to see here, and we really spent a lot of time with the Historical Society.
Sorry.
Hey, Fred.
Somebody on the Zoom.
And so, yeah, the Historical Society was key in this, right? We really studied a lot about this.
Photos of Steve on his desk.
Yeah, so, what was passed on the site, everything, just bringing back history and how can we have this an experience and tell more about what used to be here, and just to really make it something special. So I'll go over here. I don't know, hopefully people can still hear me, but so.
Do we
You have a
need,
pointer?
for LRTV, do we need to get Mr. MacGyver a mic so that people at home can hear him?
You got a laser pointer? Oh, he's got a laser
Yeah,
pointer.
just a minute, you're gonna get him, you're on TV, so you need to be heard.
Okay.
Great.
We're okay. I'm okay.
You got me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. All right, so this is the lot where the AG, the Stone Service building, currently exists right here. We wanted to, and Mike could probably talk a little bit more about this history of the site. It used to be a courtyard, right, back in the day. It used to be more of a open area, so we really wanted to try to create that courtyard feel with lawn area as a park type feel, balancing the proximity to the street, right, as well as bringing back historical buildings. So after we did the train mural on the side of the building, we just kind of stuck with that, because the Depot Street train station used to be at the end of the street. So this is a replica. We worked with the architect to replicate the old train station that used to be here. There's actually even a better shot from the other side that looks identical to this. So we've recreated the old Depot train where they used to get on and off down at Depot Street. We pulled it up to Main Street. We'll put the same Bridgton sign on the front of this as this had on the other side. And then the Maker's Mill here is a two-story to replicate the old Pondicherry Mill at the Food City site. So we have the tower here and the dormers and the style very similar with a lot of trim work of what the original, there was like, I think 3 total different buildings, Mike knows more, but that burnt down and changed and burnt down and changed. But, so we came up with kind of a combination building here with a viewing tower to walk up, kind of like they had at the old one. So the public can go up top here and look around the town. We have the building out back over on this board, which is still up for discussion whether we want to do that or not, and I'm open to removing that or whatever the board wants to see.
Which building?
This one right here.
Oh, the
This-
cafe building.
Yeah, the Market Cafe building was a replica of the train building with the buttress walls. We were gonna do the same buttress walls and the door opening to mimic, this is where the trains used to come in and they would service the trains. It was like the shop for the trains. So with the skylights on the building, and we have the skylights there, so we're gonna recreate that building there. And then this building was just kind of a general, it was nothing based off of, no historical building, but just something that would fit in the area that offered more commercial space with residential apartments above. So this building here is a single story, and this is planned to be the brewery. So the owner of the new Queen's Head Pub Gateway Restaurant, Justin's here, he's been in here, and he has decided that he wants to move the brewery out of the restaurant, the pub, to be able to offer more seating, and he wants to do a standalone brewery here on Main Street with, and if you want to ask him any questions, you can. That would be kind of a tasting room with some street food as well, and so this would be a brewery here. We talked about having the brew tanks down in the lower level where you walk and you can see glass in the floor and look down at the brewery, where they brew the beer there. And we kind of created this open glass area too, to be able to see through and see the train mural. And everything here is going to tell a story. There's going to be plaques about everything. So there'll be historical photos of old Bridgton with trains and telling, and we have a plaque too on the side of Mainly Melt's building as well that talks about the train station that we work with the Historical Society on, and actually put, for more information, go visit the Historical Society right up the street. So like this water fountain here on Main Street, we had a vision of creating kind of a wishing well that people could put money into it and give back the money to local charities. And that water wheel, we thought about recreating the wheel that used to power all the mills in the downtown. Mike and the Historical Society still has the molds, the original molds that we were going to try to
Produce the old water turbines.
the water turbines. So we were thinking that we could recreate that, show that water wheel there. We also incorporated this music stage here, right? So I feel the vision would be to move Music on Main to this area here to allow a little bit more room. And also give the artists a changing room with a bathroom there, and just a little bit more advanced setup. So outside would be just areas to play cornhole, to hang out, to sit on the lawn, so you go shopping. And then inside of here, so the Makers is based off of crafters and people that make with their hands. So we're doing a lot of that over in some of our other spaces at the Gateway. But there's a lot of crafters at the craft fairs and everything that need a platform, that don't have a platform necessarily to show their skills and their talents to the community. So we created inside of this Maker's Mill a big open area, which you don't have the floor plans yet, but we're working on them, that would have kind of like that indoor market type where you can just set up a table and have your booths of things that you might make, right? So this would be a platform for those people that can't afford to be on Main Street, maybe in a space, but want to show and share their items and crafts that they make. So that space is, I think, close to 2,000 square feet in the middle of the building. Then there's like 3 other smaller spaces here, and then a bigger space in the back. We do have people already interested in these spaces as well. What else can I tell you about this? So, town manager had an idea of maybe doing some street bollards here, retractable street bollards, to be able to close this down for music events. And then if the music events could be every weekend, it could draw more people to the businesses, give people things to do. We talked to a lot of artists were here too, local artists came to this and were a part of this as well. And they're talking about having sculptures, and we were talking about having interactive things for children as well. And then I was thinking also possibly like an outdoor movie screen as well, that people could watch movies from outdoors. And then the river runs out back, so the town and the connectivity and the trail systems were, it seems the community is really working on connecting more trails. So we have this trail coming along the back. It's already existing, but revamping it and then putting a footbridge over, a pedestrian footbridge over from, this is the gateway site here, over to the Old Paris Farmers Union parking for overflow parking as well. And then, let's see what else. There's a parking lot on this side, the far end of the property. There's parking along the back of this building. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. But we really wanted to just get, hopefully, we can get your feedback and see what the board would like to see and any ideas that you have. This is for Bridgton, for the community, and I think this would just continue making this place a destination place to come, having something like this in the downtown that's been really well thought out and worked on and by the community.
Okay. All right. Who's got questions, impressions, whatever?
Yeah, I
Ms.
did.
Miller?
I find this a little exciting and also unsettling. The unsettling part is that it's not oriented toward.
Ms. Miller, you might need to make sure you're near your mic, or near Kathy's mic, either one.
Oh, I'm sure Justin doesn't want me near any mic.
You're fine.
My feeling about town planning, which I've done a lot of reading, that you want to orient things toward your main street and enclose that public space. And I think the fountain is a lovely idea. I think it would be more orienting toward the street if this building were turned and you've made yourself a kind of quad or open place that was enclosed, and you could move your fountain elsewhere. I just feel that this brewery building, I think is what you said, would do better in closing the street.
Who else on the board? And then Justin, we get everybody out, and then you can, if you can keep track of it, if you have any.
Absolutely.
Mr. Gibbs?
Mr. McIver, very interested in increasing parking in this area. You're going to be able to use the old Paris Farmers Market lot? And I'd like to know how many spaces you can generate in this area, because it's very important, especially, a lot of people are going to want to be right around this area, so parking is going to be extremely important.
It is, yes. We've been looking at that carefully.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can say what he described, though, I think you're actually, with this plan, that's adding more parking than what's currently there, because you've got to go in behind the cafe building and then behind the big building.
Yes,
So you're adding parking versus taking away.
correct.
I have a question just about parking. I'm looking at the plan, and so I see these two new parking lots that Dan's talking about, which, according to this, creates 40 spaces. Is this also parking along Depot
Yes.
Street?
Yeah, question about that, or diagonal parking there, is that grandfathered? Is there,
It's a continuation of what's already there in front of the Potter Place building.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I'm just curious because there is a dimensional standard for parking in that area.
Yep.
Back from the street.
But, yeah.
So where that, just so I'm just trying to get bearings here, where that
Yep.
cafe, little brown building is that in the area where Warren's Florist is right now?
Warren's Florist is right here, because this is the existing, this is all remaining, the
Okay.
existing
Yeah, that's
structure. So
existing.
Warren's Florist is right here.
Okay, so that, all right, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that
So
is a
these
new
parking spots
building.
are already here along this, so we've extended it
Yeah,
now.
he's tearing down the old.
And those buildings, the ones in white are staying?
Yes. Yep.
Ms. DiPietro?
Yes. Would the location of the mixed-use retail and residential be more non-conforming than what's existing there? That's going to be a consideration. Are you anywhere in a flood zone?
I didn't, no, I don't believe so.
I don't look at the maps. If you could provide maps, that would be very ever so useful.
Absolutely. This is just a feedback, just
Right,
introducing.
yeah, water use.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
current, proposed, wastewater,
Yep.
what you already have free to use, what you're gonna get, all that good stuff.
Yep. Yeah, we'll study that real hard and make sure we're in compliance with everything.
Mr. Gibbs?
Just a question, any part of this in GD2, general development?
I think there's a little bit of an overlap
It's shown on the
there.
map.
Yes.
There's the 25-foot setback and there's the 50-foot setback,
Yeah, so you're not putting anything
well, except the trail.
except the trail.
So you're relocating the Stevens Brook Trail a little bit, or is that a new trail?
No, that's the existing trail.
Okay.
Yep.
Because the existing trail looks like it travels in a slightly different direction, but I stand, whatever.
Yeah, I think the architect put something on there
You're not putting any,
from the zoom from Earth, you know,
okay, all right,
originally, so it's,
okay.
but I'll make sure that that's all accurate.
So just relative to Ken's question, you want to mind the shoreline zoning in that area and,
Right.
you know, structurally, whether that's going to be considered a structure or just a trail, or it's a grandfathered trail, et cetera, just.
Right, exactly.
You don't have to answer all that now, but I pay attention to it. And the other comment I would make is, well, actually, we haven't heard from Rolf. Rolf, did you have any impressions, comments?
I think about what's there today and what's being envisioned is absolutely wonderful. You know, I've been always in favor of enhancing the village of Bridgton. And this is exactly what we want to do to enhance our village. Be great for commercial, be great for a lot of things. We're great to bring a lot of business into town. So I'm very excited, Justin.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Mr. Gibbs?
Just out of curiosity, town that I lived in before had a baker's mill in it, and the artists had their own shop right where they were doing their artist work or their craftsman's work, and if they had to demonstrate their wares down in a local area, that would necessitate two people, one in the shop itself and one taking care of the material that's on sale. The way that I've seen it done before is that the person, the artisan, has its sales right where he or she is making the product.
Yeah.
So is that a question?
Well, just a statement.
Statement, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we, over at the Gateway, there's a new business local. She was went through Lake Region from the area, and she is a maker, and she makes things, and we built a desk inside of her, big table, long table, so she could make some woodworking things with her hands inside of the space itself. So that's probably something that will happen, as well as other people, but she also makes at her house too, and then brings it to here to sell it here. So I think we probably might see a combination of that, Ken.
I'm kind of curious why you positioned the building, the large sort of angled building, why you positioned it where you did,
Yeah.
as opposed to, maybe kind of a little bit what Dee's saying, but not quite, is, why you didn't put more of one of the building's frontage on Main Street.
When we looked at that, because we studied that with the group, with the architect, looking at different renderings, so many different things, and it really closed off the whole area to be able to see right through. We want to really invite people down Depot Street too, so you want to see through that area, and we kind of try to follow the property line along the back as well, so that's the way it went. And then there's also, the property line's kind of funny here, because there's a big right-of-way right here. So
Basically have a
yeah.
double corner lot.
Yeah, so we just felt like putting something just right here, closing this whole thing off, was not as inviting. When we looked at that, it just blocked it off quite a bit, and you lost that whole courtyard feel when we did that. So
one thing you'll want to pay a lot of attention to are the setbacks, which I think are a maximum of 6 feet for the front setback, and 0,
Yeah.
and 2 feet for the side
Yep.
or common setbacks.
I think it's 15 feet for a parking setback.
But there is no, I'm talking about that thing in the center there.
Oh,
the-
yeah.
The
Yes.
courtyard.
Multi-dimensional.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So you'll want to pay attention to those district space and bulk standards, and I'm kind of assuming by looking at this, not sure, but by reading the ordinance, that you're considering the front lot line, the Depot Street lot line, because that's the longest one, is that correct?
Correct.
Yep.
As well as, really, this is
I
our
won't break my own rule, but
Yes,
I think that's gonna be really important, because there's a
Yep.
lot of specifications there, and
absolutely.
we can't give variances. Some of those items in the
Yep.
district bulk standards, you
Yep.
need to identify whether you would want a waiver, I think, or
Right.
not.
Yep.
I'm not suggesting that you ask for waivers, but I'm
Sure.
just saying you gotta
Yep.
discriminate between
Right.
what's a hard and fast dimensional standard and what's a
Yes.
aesthetic standard.
Absolutely. And so the current building is sitting back, roughly in this area here, with all pavement here now. And then this building would be within the 6 feet as well. And this is our kind of primary anchor tenant for the property as well, is this structure. So this will be fronted along Depot and Main Street as well, and then we have the frontage of this structure on Depot Street.
Okay, so just,
Yeah.
really look carefully at those,
Right.
because that's.
Yeah, and this
gonna be
building
important.
here, like, if it's too cramped and we need to get rid of that building, we can slide this building up along Depot, but this is really cool, like the shots looking down the street. This is one that gives you, once you get on Depot Street, this was up just to show you the existing structure is right close. There's a big barn here along the brook too, so there's some structures real close to that area. So this is coming down Depot Street, looking down that way. It just really makes a significant difference.
Yeah.
Creating another Main Street almost feel, which is more walkable and less busy as Main Street. And this is
Right.
going to be critical to the future growth of Bridgton, this whole street, and the town working on the park and the Pondicherry Park. And so it's pretty exciting to see. what this could look like. But do we move, this building forward some and get rid of that building? I mean, but yet there's a
Because you're
building.
saying they'd be too, could the cafe be an extension? If you had to do
Exactly,
that-
we could
If you
connect
had to do
that.
that for it, could that cafe just be a little
Yeah.
extension with a front
Correct.
entrance, and you could also enter from the?
Yes, yep, we could do that, it's just,
Assuming there's room for the cafe to operate.
right, and the reason we left this building back a little bit too, it just gives you a little bit more breathing area, there's green space there, right? We're not putting a parking lot in front of the building, it's more lawn, green space, and it put the apartments and the stores closer to the natural, right, the amenities, the river, and,
Right,
having
so I understand your
Yeah.
logic, but,
Right,
but you know what the ordinance spec is, so,
Yep.
yeah, so. And what the variance
Yep.
considerations are, so yeah, you may wanna
Absolutely.
look at that more closely.
yes, yep.
But-
And I think this is the look that the
Right.
comprehensive plan that they wanted to see. Yes?
Ms. Miller?
Well, now that you've put this up, your view is coming from that corner. And actually, the way this is looking, I just feel that this building is closing off that view. And I remember that when you were going to put the brewery in your gateway, you were going to make use of big glass so that the tubs, or whatever you call them,
Yep.
casks or whatever would be
Yep.
shown. And I still believe that this should address Main Street more. It is Main Street. But if you were to turn the building and you are concerned, you would open up more that, and if you are concerned about what you see from Main Street, you've got the angle helping you. But you could make use of glass, and you could glass the center of the building where I assume something can be, and you could look through and you could see what's there. I'm just very concerned because everything I have ever read about town planning is addressing the main street. And I don't think this does that.
How far back are I know how far back the depot, how far back is the large building on that corner lot?
What do you think,
They've,
Maybe
yeah, I think we were.
Not far.
We were like 2 feet off the property line for the edges of that building.
For the edge of it, but in
So
terms of setback
maybe
from,
15 feet, 20 feet, it's not
Okay.
that far. So Dee, you were saying to put a building, to just close this in like this?
Right.
Right, and that's your traditional way that we did look at,
Well,
but
This is
Yeah.
a traditional town.
well, this is very,
And
this is,
the
yeah,
traditional way of doing things
Yeah.
is to address the main street.
but if I could interject for a minute, Dee, if he does that, and assuming that that isn't the public lot line, the lot front, because it's not the longest one in a corner, then it does mean that, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it does cause complications with the other buildings, because
correct.
I believe that along Depot Street there, which is the longest lot line, that's, well, I don't wanna get into too many details, but let's just put it this
Sure.
way. If he has to move those buildings to the front, then he's gotta potentially also put a building along Depot Street.
Right.
Without me getting into
Correct.
this, but
I'm
that's
just
why I
trying-
asked him to look, so
Yeah.
the question is then, do you have something that's completely occluded from the public?
Right.
In the front and on the sides?
I don't think it would be. I think the use of glass would be very exciting to look through the building. And
We'd lose the grass lawn on the street.
but I don't think you need a lawn along the street. I
Yeah.
think the street is where you have buildings. And you want people, you're enclosing the public space that way. And if you orient the building here, then you're enclosing that space too.
Right.
And you're making like a room.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so I think
So
he's
I
got,
think my problem is just design.
okay, so Ms. Miller, you've gotten your point across.
Yes,
Uh,
I'm gonna keep
So let the
getting
rest
it.
of the board, and I've weighed in on what I think problems would cause of that, and this isn't a substantive discussion to direct him what to do
I
other than
understand that.
to
Oh, I
meet,
appreciate the
to,
feedback.
to be sure, you know,
Yep.
we're telling you what to pay attention to. Mr. Manson?
Well, can I assume that the fountain is gonna be used as a focal point
Correct.
for people to be
draw.
looking at the fountain, to draw them
Correct.
into the space?
Yes.
Because every time where you have a square with a fountain in it,
Right.
that's what it does.
Yes.
So what you're trying to do with your design, correct me if I'm wrong, is if somebody's going across the street, you want them to look here
Yes.
and then look inside where
Right.
your makers.
That was what the
Mill is.
large group from the community decided, because we looked at this every different way, and with the Historical Society, based on what the history used to be back in the traditional way, this is more how it was.
And that's why you're putting two focal points. You're putting the
Correct.
train station
Up front
is a
against the
focal
street,
point,
correct.
and the fountain is the focal point.
Yes, so we're trying to get that street frontage, right, that we want, but also allow it to be open with the courtyard and draw you in as well with some other features. So we're trying to hit both the sweet spots, Steve.
But it isn't how it was, because that building was in another place, and that building was in another place.
Okay, but
So it's the style of buildings that have existed, but you're not describing it completely, because what you're saying is, this is what it used to be. It never was that. This building used to be here, but it
Right.
was somewhere else. This building was here, that was somewhere else. I
Ms.
think
Miller,
it's great.
Ms. Miller, I
I
have to stop
want
you
it to be
because you.
precisely described, and his saying
put a stop
that
to this.
this is how
Yeah,
it
Ms.
used
Miller,
to be.
you're not, you
hasn't-
don't have the floor at the moment, okay?
Thank you, Dee, for your feedback.
Mr. Manson?
Can I ask one? The mixed-use retail and residential, is it basically apartments up top?
Yes,
Residential space down below?
all commercial down below.
Retail.
Retail.
Yep.
How many square feet is this building approximately?
Which one, the Maker's Mill?
No, the mixed-use retail and residential.
They're
So what are
both
you looking
mixed.
at? I'm
So
just
this one,
asking.
the one out in the
Trying
back.
to get an idea of size,
Yeah, this one in the back here,
Wigglesburg, it isn't.
or this one?
not the makers. I understand what you're doing with the makers.
Okay, yep,
This one back, in the back,
this one right here in the back.
yes.
That one is roughly 7,000 square feet on the first floor.
And dimensional length,
I don't know the dimensions off the top of my head,
It's
but I
just,
haven't seen the floor plan.
yeah,
Well,
I could,
you mean the dimensional length of the whole building?
I mean, the reason I'm asking the question, I'm trying to understand it because your middle
Maybe 100 feet.
conceptual drawing,
Yeah,
you're having this open because you also want to draw a
right.
potential customer down the street
Correct.
to those
Yes.
spaces.
That was important when we were working together with the architect.
The full length of that building looks like it's something like
It's on the other side.
I'm just looking at the map, 150 feet or more.
The other one,
It's
the one
7,000.
that shows when you're
Yeah.
standing from the back, looking up towards Main Street.
You know, I'm just trying to get, we're looking at conceptual
Yeah.
drawings, I'm trying to get an idea how big it is.
That one's standing where the florist is right now, kind of right in this area looking back.
where's
Where the
the,
florist,
Just to give you a different perspective.
yeah, where's the florist?
The florist, we're standing inside of the florist right now.
florist,
Yeah,
so is the
florist-
florist not gonna be there?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, the florist is right here.
okay.
Yeah,
And the
Well,
VFW is still gonna be there too, right?
Yep, down the street, yeah, there's a house and then the VFW, yep.
you know, the
So-
VFW stays, is that correct?
Yes, there's two properties, a property next door we don't own, that's a, I think duplex or a rental
Yeah.
or residential unit, and then there's the VFW after that.
Okay.
Yep. And you can see, so what we do have here too is we have a walkthrough with a mural inside of this walkthrough here. And the public restrooms are in there as well.
So you envision if you have a concert,
Yeah.
like you're doing, you'd close the street off.
Correct. Yep. And then also, we were thinking that maybe this could be a future location of the farmer's market. We met with the farmer's market, and we could close down Depot Street and then have all their tents, outdoor tents set up here as well along the streets, and maybe more food trucks, and have that outdoor festival type atmosphere here as well, and they seem to.
Could I ask a question why you didn't, are you done, Mr. Manson?
Yeah, I am, thank you.
Okay. Just wondering why you didn't flip this building this way, put this one over here, put this one this way?
Yeah, we did look at that. What was the reason? I can't remember.
Because
Yeah.
if this is the front lot line,
Yeah.
65% of it has to have a structure.
Right. Yeah, what was the reason?
So just, I mean, I'm not saying change it, I'm just thinking, just throwing that out there
Yeah.
for you to think about.
Yeah.
You don't even have to answer it, but just, I think I've said 4 times, so, minding the bulk
Looks like about
standards.
2
so.
inches wide, it's about 60 feet.
Other,
By about 100 feet long.
yeah, other comments that people haven't, about it, that
Think
they
I
haven't
have a
expressed.
Just guessing.
Mr. Gibbs, did you?
Oh, I just had a quick question. Is the Depot Brew Pub, is that the train station replica? Is that where the brew? Yeah, just wanted to make
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
I would say the parking's really important because a lot of people could be coming in there.
Yes.
So the parking that's striped along Depot Street, that's all existing tarmac, right?
Right.
Oh, it is?
So you wouldn't be creating any new tarmac, you might be restriping
A
it.
little bit, well, correct, there's no more tarmac, it's already there, the tar's there, we'll just be restriping.
So all of this is existing tarmac?
Yeah, so it's, just maybe, if you could look at this one, Justin. So all this is existing. Okay.
Yeah, so we do, so, you know, looking at, if you look in the area too, there is a public parking lot up by the fire station as well. There's, I don't have the count on it now, but there's actually quite a bit of parking around, between the municipal, between the town parking lot up here, all of the street parking, the parking along the
Yeah.
street. And
So
I
just
think,
describe all that in
Yeah.
good detail with, you know, with number of clients, what you're expecting, all that.
yeah. Yeah.
Anything, I would say I appreciate the green space. And I appreciate that the entire thing isn't filled up with a building,
Yeah, yeah.
frankly.
It's good.
That was what the group wanted, not what, right? It was, they made the decision.
I know you like to use most of the space in a lot.
Why not?
You hear me, I'm willing to give, right, if you guys wanna get rid of one of the buildings out
Sorry to
back
be
or
blunt,
whatever.
but,
Yeah, I know.
okay.
I'm tr-
Anything else, or do you have any, while the board's thinking if they have any other, do you have any questions?
No, I just want this to be a community project and a win for everybody, you know, it's what the community wants. That's how we came out of this and approached this, and, right, you guys all voted on it, Bob?
Yeah, I would, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, we met.
Come to the mic, Bob. And just one comment while he's coming up is you got a lot of different uses there. You'll want to make sure that all of those uses are described and meet the standards.
Yeah, Bob Peabody, Town Manager. It was a very interesting process, and if I could just flesh it out.
Go right ahead.
What did we meet, 4 different times, 5 times?
Yeah.
On-site, and I don't know the count of the people, but there must have been 20 people, if not more, 20 to 30 people each time, and it was, we appreciated that it included town staff, the fire chief, police chief, myself, deputy town manager, CD director, Brenda, as well as some of his staff and some other people he invited, and listening to your comments, those were a lot of the comments we were having. Some people were tipping things this way, some people were tipping things that way. But the design that's in front of you is ultimately what, after all that wrangling back and forth, and there were some pretty strong opinions, and I actually acquiesced to our CD director on the placement of the fountain, I believe it was, because I wanted it a little closer forward. But it was a collaborative project, and obviously we didn't have all the requirements that in front of us doing it. This was a visioning session, and as a town manager, I can say in my 25 years of doing this type of work, this was the first time I've been that intimately involved in a major project in a downtown, and I welcomed that opportunity. So, it was quite a process, and we'll see what you folks do with it now.
Okay, thank you very much. Any last questions, comments,
Yeah.
recommendations? Ms. Miller?
The Riverwalk section, the trail, that's open to the public. And so that will meet a goal that people have been talking about. See, that I like. Meet a goal that people have been talking about for a long time to make use of the stream front, so.
Yeah, the Stevens Brook Trail.
Yeah.
And the town's
make it more
working on a lot of
accessible
that,
and more beautiful.
a lot of that stuff. And that actually goes from up at Highland Lake down to past Food City, all the way down to Long Lake.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to have that revitalized, right? And to tell a story and to show the old mill sites and have interactive. And I think, just kind of thoughts that we've been having is that everything that we're doing is trying to incorporate nature, history, children, artwork, and just traditional with the modern world that we're in, and the business needs and
I think Mr. Gibbs has one more for you.
yeah, this is right what people like, kids and all multi-generational thing. It's for everybody, and this is what people want to do and want to have in there.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yeah, I was going to say, I concur. It's really an exciting project, and I think very necessary. I think the only, it won't be a problem, but meeting the regulations that the town has set up in the land use and the site plan, and that's going to be the only issue.
Right. And the intent of those, right, what they were created for and why and the reasons.
Right.
Right?
But remember, in our interpretation, we have to be, particularly with dimensional standards,
Yes.
we have to mind those very specifically. There's more leeway with things that aren't dimensional standards, leeway in terms of waivers,
Right.
if it makes sense.
I guess.
But in terms of items that will be considered dimensional standards, we don't have a lot of choice.
Right. And maybe, it's what.
Other than, letting you know you'd need a variance, but that's
Right.
it.
And if the community wants it like that, right, then we should maybe do it, consider it. But if they don't, then we won't, right? It's
Well-
whatever.
Oh, I think the community wants it.
Right.
There's such a thing as changing ordinances
Correct,
too,
right,
so.
right.
I'm not suggesting that, but
Well, I think we had a little bit of that conversation, that it would be
Yeah.
worthwhile to maybe ask for one in this situation, because it was so special to have that feature in the lawn and courtyard area that.
Yep. All right. Anybody else?
Colors, window, anything?
Well, I see you're on to your standard gray and beige.
Come on. I told the architect, pick the color with the historic.
May I
ask,
it should blend in.
So the Pondicherry Mill was actually gray with white trim at one point.
I'm just giving you a little bit of a hard time.
Right, and a lot of, the old historic buildings were white.
A lot of the railroad buildings were cream and green, but other than that,
And then,
It should be attractive for people to come to without being distracting and them
sure,
looking at it and going, ew, so.
right.
May I ask a?
Yes, go ahead, Ms.
Informational. All right, so at the end of this little station building, that looks like something is glass, yeah,
Yep.
what is in there?
So, this is glass indoor seating area. So it's glass walls, and then we wanted to recreate the posts with the same designs as the old train station, so we just added kind of like a post on the outside, a few feet outside of the glass.
Okay, so that's just showing, because it looks like there's something inside there that you're putting there for, on display. That's
In
just-
here is the bar,
Uh-huh.
and this is seating area.
Yeah, we see?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are using glass, just not-
Yes, this is all
not
glass.
in
This
the
whole
place
thing,
where I'd like to see it.
this is all glass right here too, Dee, on this side. And this is
So
all
you can look
glass.
through it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So are we finished, folks?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything from anybody else?
Anybody?
It's a great idea, I'm all for it.
Okay. Well, thank you
let's
very
not
much.
make
And
it
you
look
can-
like Disneyland
You can
or
see the
nothing.
board is very interested in it because we spent the better part of 45 minutes or so on it.
Well, and-
So we usually don't on these kind of things.
Well, for
so-
your recommendation, right, bringing, right, projects ahead of time before we
Yep.
start, right, because we don't want to go down and design all this and then, right, have it discussed.
Now
That's
I've
what
got
that-
instructions.
That's great.
So that's what we're trying to
We're glad
feel,
to hear that. That's
right,
always.
to make sure
it's-
we're on the right track here.
Yeah.
The colored awnings, is that stuff cut out?
We haven't really finalized that, but we were looking at doing the colored awnings like in the old original, the first photo I walked by with.
Yeah.
How vibrant it was, you know, do we do
Well,
different colored awnings?
trust me, Mr. Davis, there'll be a public hearing. So if you want the pine for awnings, you can do
Yes.
that.
Bring some
But
fun.
we will only be paying attention to the standards. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you
Yeah.
very, very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate the level of detail that you went into and all these renderings, which I know cost a reasonable amount of money, so I really appreciate the
Literally
time you
hate
guys took with that to give us the impression that you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
No.
you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
On to the next item on the agenda, and thanks to everybody who participated and has shown an interest. It's really great to see. We only have,
We could leave
Well-
the building there if we really wanted to. We have a site as it
never
is.
mind, I'm not gonna say what I wanna say.
Nobody has suggested that.
Okay.
Get my laser pointer. Walk off with it.
Well, that's okay.
I just gave Scott for a presentation.
All righty, item 7A, proposed changes to the application form.
They're great.
Hey, guys, I hate to be a bad guy, but we're still meeting, so. Rolf and I met with staff, just really to talk about easier ways to do findings of fact. And one of the things that, I don't know if you folks have noticed, but the application form, the numbers of the standards aren't the same as what they are anymore in the ordinance. There's one or two standards missing. And so the thought we have is that by some fashion, we really want to continue to have the applicant write a narrative in the order that things are in the standard. And staff is gonna look at modifying the application so that, for instance, where the standards are listed, that right there they can put in their narrative instead of something separate. Obviously, a narrative is not a requirement of the submission, but most of the complex plans done by engineers do it, and, because they know that it makes things easier. So I just wanted to bring that up. If anybody sees any issues, please let me or
How many
Rolf know.
hours did it take you to write Woodlands?
Woodlands was significantly shorter because, I'm gonna say it took me, not including my own personal wordsmithing that I didn't necessarily have to do, I would say it took me 8 to 10 hours.
No, partially what we're trying to do is make a template
Right.
that we can cut and paste. to.
Right. But I'd say the first parts of it, up to the shoreline zoning, probably only took me a couple of hours. But because the shoreline zoning section wasn't presented the same, not that everything wasn't there, but it wasn't presented in the same order as what our ordinance is. Parts were here, parts were there. You know, and then I have the comments from the board also on all of this discussion. You start hunting and pecking around for where was that? So, especially with something like this where it went on for, it's been 11 months now with various submissions. So that's the idea, is to make templates and to make it modular.
Good idea.
The other thing is that, and I don't know if Tori's still here, I think we will have a workshop on February 21st. 21st, which is 2 weeks from today. So we'll call for a workshop. LD 2003, so here's a couple thoughts on what the workshop should consider, and I'd just like your kind of brief how it hits you. So there's a couple choices. One is to start on LD 2003 because I understand the rules have been written, but that's also going to take significant time probably for our attorneys and us. The other thought, so maybe that could go to March. I don't think, unless we call a meeting every week or 4 days, that we will get it done by July. So, but we might want to start scoping out some concepts at the meeting now that the rules have been written, so that maybe we can get help from staff and attorney at writing things. The other thing that I thought, not absolutely necessary, but necessary in a sense, is the subdivision regs, which require a public hearing to be changed, don't go to referendum. They're already very high density, and there's a gray area in how those are described, that maybe we could just look at that one section about dimensional standards, because that could be changed quite quickly. I know Ken several times has looked at density, wanting it to be per unit as opposed to per lot. So I'm thinking we might want to have that discussion. The other thing was anything very quick that makes sense, not necessarily that we would do all of these. So I'm thinking I'll send out a memo, but for instance, in the inner quarter, there's this 15 to 25 foot setback, right? So, and there are those 3 lots up on Route 302. One has the Napa store on it. One, the guy got a variance so he could move his building back 75 feet, and I don't know if you guys follow the appeals board. And so there's 3 lots there that stick out like a peninsula with 15 to 25 foot setbacks. And I have had numerous comments about the Napa building, which meets specs, but people are shocked by it being right up front in that area of town.
There's also comments about the Marina building.
Right, same thing with stuff close. So I think we might just want to, the decision is, do we start on LD 2003 a little bit? Do we try to do some quick things for the things that we can do quickly that are fairly easy to come to agreement on, that code enforcement would welcome and I think planning would welcome. So any thoughts quickly? Ms. Miller?
I'm a little bit behind maybe, but are those rules published?
They're supposed to be published tomorrow.
All right, so we'll get them, so we can begin to scope out what we think might meet those standards.
We could. But, we also want to scope out, do we want to spend a lot of the time now, or do we want to, do we want to spend maybe an hour scoping that out together? And then see what we want to spend on the attorneys, or do we, it's a catch-22.
Does everything have to be addressed?
I think that's up to us. What we have to remember is that if we...
We're not under an obligation to just
if we
to
don't.
do everything.
The
If it
risk
doesn't
we
fit our
have is
town.
that if they don't extend the deadline, and MMA is asking for the deadline to be expanded, if they don't extend the deadline, meaning the legislature, then what will happen is if somebody comes to us, I'll give an example. They come to us and they have an empty shoreline zoning lot that's 50,000 square feet. We're gonna have a rigorous argument about whether they can place two homes on that or not. And right now, our attorney has said, probably gonna have to let them place 2 buildings on that lot. So, you know, I just think that there's some things we're gonna be able to do, but there's some things we just need to buckle under. Are there other ways? If that were true, what would we want to change in shoreline zoning to protect the
I don't
water?
think it includes shoreline zoning.
What?
I don't think it includes shoreline zoning.
Oh, yes, it does, according to the attorneys.
Yeah.
It just says it has to meet the standards of the shoreline zone. But it also says, the law also says that you have to allow 2 homes on an empty lot if it's not in a growth area. So what the lawyers have said is, we don't, you know, I'm just giving it as an example to say, we could be at risk if we don't do something, and then somebody comes and we're gonna have an argument with an applicant about how many structures they can place on a lot.
You could end up in
Don't pay
court
attention
anyways.
to the details. And so then we'll get sued if we make the wrong decision legally. The counter to that is, July 1st is pretty soon, and you know, you'd be slapping things together or spending a lot of legal money, a lot. So just a general sense, do you wanna get started on LD 2003, just, or do you want, or do it at high level, spend an hour doing that, hour looking at what I'll call straightforward changes that have been issues, or just look at straightforward changes, do you just, some guidance before I go off making an agenda? Mr. Mattson?
I think we should do a high level with
Priorities?
We need to know what's really facing us
Okay.
with this, and just a high level review of
LD 2003.
Once, now that the rules are done.
we need to see what we got in front of us.
Okay.
And then we can go into,
Okay, so, how about you, Tori, any comments?
I think a high-level approach is a good one at this point. I think other towns are gonna be in the same boat, and I think it's gonna be very rushed and haphazard if, you know, we try to comply in time.
I'd like to see what other towns do so we can use their work.
Yeah, I'll be going to the Intertown meeting tomorrow night, so I'm sure we'll be discussing this. Okay, so when the rules are available, either Tori or I will get them to you. I would like to, you know, to consider if we can get something like that zoning changed with buildings being right up on the road, just for those 3 lots, but we'll see when we get there, maybe I'll write up a proposal. Okay?
Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I don't think it was,
That has to go to
I don't think it was,
town vote.
that has to go to town vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, it could be no. All right, I'd accept the motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Mr. Gibbs, seconded by Mr. Harden. Oh, wait,
Wait a minute.
We need to sign that Mylar for Rex.
can we adjourn then sign it?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning?
Yep. Here we go.